On this episode of Fee-Based Financial Planning Mastery, I'm going to explain to you why it's important to be able to run your business from a bomb shelter if you have to.
Running a successful fee-based financial planning business is tough, and escaping the shackles of a commission-based financial planning practice is terrifying. When all you want to do is learn from those who know, learn from financial planners who are there on the front lines doing it each and every day. What if you could just open their kimono and take a look inside to learn what works and what doesn't? Now there's a place where the secrets to running a fee-based financial planning business are revealed to those who believe. Fee-based financial planning mastery. Ease your mind.
Hi everyone, it's Scott Plaskett here, and thanks for joining me. In this podcast, you will learn what's working and what's not in the world of fee-based financial planning. In each episode, I'm going to open my kimono and let you take an insider's look at what's working and what's not in my practice to help you take your business to the next level. I've been a fee-based certified financial planner since the early 90s, so believe me, I know the challenges you're facing. So get ready to learn not from a teacher, coach, or guru, but from a colleague who's on the front lines just like you. And I'd like to invite you to subscribe to my email internet newsletter to get the most up-to-date tips on how to build and grow your fee-based financial planning practice by going to feebasedfinancialplanningmastery.com. Hey everybody, I wanted to talk a little bit about some things that have been on my mind. And, client perception is an interesting thing. And I've been thinking about this a lot lately. When you manage a client's perception properly, you always look awesome. And when you don't, you just simply don't. So let me explain what I mean. I've always told my wife that a good contractor could rule the world. The one thing contractors that they do for me, though, is they absolutely frustrate me. I had a contractor once tell me a story which pretty much sent me through the roof. He told me how they operate, and it infuriated me. Now, I'm not saying that every contractor's like this, so don't, if you're a contractor, or if you're married to a contractor, or if you know a contractor that you're good friends with, don't sick them on me. I'm basically just telling you a story of a contractor that talked to me because I think we've all had somewhat of a similar story when it comes to the experience with a contractor. Well, the story I had was, it was a contractor, and he said, you know how we work? He says, contractors work like this. He says, the one thing as a contractor you never ever want to do is turn away a job because you never know when the next one's going to come. So what you do is you always accept every job. And this is what he said. He said, so let's just say you wanted to have a deck built on your house and you were really excited about the deck and you brought me in and I basically said, yeah, I can totally do the deck. This is the estimate of what it's going to cost. This is how long it's going to take. Everything's great. And it gets everybody excited. And then the client says, you know what? That's great. I want you to build my deck for me. Great. Now, you as the contractor, you have no ability to build the deck. You're completely overwhelmed. You've got too much work on the go. You got people already kicking at your heels trying to say, hey, get the job done where you're at, this sort of thing. But you never turn it away. So now, basically, you've got the job. And if you can take a deposit, so on and so forth. But you can't show up when you're supposed to. And so you don't. You just carry on working away with your new job. And again, remember, this is the story that the contractor told me. So he says, you never show up when you're supposed to. And, he says, after a while, you get the odd phone call. Hey, you said you were going to show up and, you're not here. And just calling to follow up to see where you're at. You said you'd be starting at such and such a date. Can you give me a call? And, you're still busy and you're working away. And so you never really do. And then finally, you get a call from the client and they're furious. And you can tell in the sound of their voice that they're really, really upset. And so basically they call and they say, listen, if you don't call me back, I'm going to go somewhere else and I'm going to sue you and I'm going to, all this stuff. And he says, you know what you do then? He says, you deliver the wood. And that just about sent me through the roof. Because we know now, he says, basically you deliver the wood and now you've got this client who now says, oh, okay, good. My phone call worked. Now things are going to start happening. Now it's going to start moving along. And he says, you have no intention of showing up. You have no intention of getting it done on time because you can't. But you deliver the wood and you put them off a little bit more. And you keep on doing that all the way through the project. That just infuriates me. So what can you do today to better manage your client's perceptions, because managing their perceptions is paramount to good success in this business. And you don't want to be seen as that contractor or the contractor experience where, you deliver the wood just to appease them and then you carry on working through. In our business, none of that flies. So what can you do today to better manage your clients' perceptions? Well, it's actually quite simple. You just simply follow this, we've all heard this before, under promise and over deliver. But this, you've really got to take this to heart. If it's going to take you to the end of the day to get back to somebody, tell them that you will get back to them by the end of the next day, and then call them by the end of that day. You want to kind of lower their expectations. So if you lower their expectations, don't fall into the trap of being that person who always wants to impress people before they've done the job. Lower clients' expectations a bit so that you can set yourself up to wow them. If you can't get back to them until the end of the day, and you say, listen, I'm pretty busy today. I'll give you a call first thing in the morning, and then you call them by the end of the day. They actually say, wow, that's impressive. Thank you for calling. I know you said you were busy, but thanks for giving me a call back. So now you've set them up for, you set yourself up for a bit of a wow experience. Start each meeting by telling clients what you were doing for them to prepare for the meeting. So here's an example. Imagine how you would feel if when you went to the doctor and he walks in the room and he says, hey, good to see you. I knew you were coming today, so I took the liberty of reviewing your file, and I'd like to speak with you about a few things. Showing clients that they're important by telling them that you took time to review their account personally simply makes them feel better and builds their confidence in your recommendations. Then, prepare a meeting package that delivers more than what a client was expecting and position it in such a way that they know how much you care about their specific situation. You may have heard me say that, I prepare all of my meetings on Mondays. I prepare for the entire week on Mondays. Part of the reason is so that I'm always prepared for the meeting. I never want to go into a meeting not prepared. Another reason is that I can show clients how much I care about their situation because I've spent the time actually going through their file. There's nothing wrong with a little self-promotion here, especially when it's true. Don't lie about things. Just set yourself up to be successful and then tell people that you do it. Okay? It's really quite simple. It's all in how you set things up. The one thing it drives me nuts is when somebody might say, listen, I'll get back to you in an hour. And then 3 hours later, they get back to you. Okay, well, you know what? You said you'd get back to me in an hour. It's 3 hours later. You're late. Even if you were 2 hours, or even if you were an hour and a half, the point is you couldn't meet the hour deadline. But if you said, listen, I'll get back to you within 3 hours, and then you got back to them in 2 hours, wow, you're an hour ahead of time. So it's all in how you position it. People will adapt to what you say. People will adapt. So just make sure you're not over-promising, because then you run the risk of under-delivering. The more I write about this, the more I talk about this, the more I research this, the more I realize how many little things we can do today that don't cost any money to blow clients away. Take a look at your meeting process and see if there's something you can do to show clients that you truly care. When you start each meeting, say things like, on Monday when I was reviewing your file with my team, we identified, and then go into some, what you identified, go into something that's there. Or over the weekend, I came across some information and instantly thought of you. Let me show you what I found. That just positions things wonderfully. The last time we met, you spoke about your friends, so-and-so. Over the weekend, I was thinking of them because I came across this information that I thought you could send them. Well, if you start each meeting with the question, what are you most excited about right now? Clients will look for something in their life that's going on that they're excited about, and then ask them who they do these things with. Say, this is a bit of a strategy you could employ. If you at the beginning of each meeting, I always start off by saying, hey, listen, what's going on in your life? What's exciting right now? What's exciting to you right now? And we just have a bit of a conversation about that. Well, chances are they'll provide you with names of people who they care about, because when they're talking about doing these exciting things, they're probably doing them with people that they do care about. So when you say to them, hey, this thing that you're doing, do you do it alone? Is it a group situation? Just find out who these people are. Then when you bring up a piece of information in the future meeting that you think would be helpful to one of their friends, and you give it to them to pass along to their friends, you're, showing you care and are listening, because, if you remembered this from the previous meeting that that person played floor hockey or did volleyball or, decided to go on a weekend retreat with some of their friends, and you remember that, well, that goes a long way. And you're giving them something that they can use to look good in their friends' eyes. We've just gone through a big revamp of the investment solutions that we're using, and we're going through some pretty detailed information in our client meetings. Well, clients are impressed by that, and it's amazing how many clients have said to me, this might be interesting. I've got a friend that this might be interesting for. Or while we're having our conversation, it just gives me some information later on or the next review meeting to go back and say, hey, remember that friend you were talking about? Well, I came across this, and for whatever reason, I just thought of them, and I thought this might be of interest. So if you want, you can pass it on to them and then give it to them. So with a structure like this, you think you're going to get some referrals from a structure like this? You think you're going to set yourself up for success? It's not difficult in this business to do things really well and to do them so that people really appreciate what you do. It just takes a little bit of forethought. So, setting yourself up this way, it's amazing the positive byproduct that comes from it. So, put a system in place to follow up with clients 7 to 30 days after they implement a solution that you present to them, and have one of your team members call them to see if they have any follow-up questions. This will both lock in the implemented strategy and show them that you care. So again, it's something that I was thinking about putting in place, where I thought, I could actually map out a system where we take some of the opportunities that we're working on, and once we get to a certain stage where I know, okay, the opportunity is closed and done and it's all implemented properly, I can set a trigger that says to one of my team members, 15 days from today or 7 days from today, give this client a call. And if it's maybe a new investment product, give them a call and just ensure that they've got set up on their online statements and they know how to use it. Maybe we put together a video that explains exactly how to do it, and so we set it up so that 7 days from the date that that everything sort of landed in on their new account, 7 days later or 10 days later or whatever, they suddenly get an email saying, hey, I thought at this point, since everything's now in place and we confirmed that everything is in, now you might be interested in how to access your information online. And here's a little video that will explain exactly how to get registered and what you need to do. So, little things like that will go a long way. When you map out your process, you can constantly revisit it to make it better and better. You can't do this if you're shooting from the hip. You can't do this if you're just constantly making it up as you go. You have to map out your overall process, and that's so important. If you don't map it out, and it can be a daunting task, because I've mapped it out before, and I have this massive mind map that explains exactly what we do and how we do it. And that's a pretty impressive document. Well, if you don't map it out, you can't take a look at the details to say, how can we do this better? Map out your process and look at all of the touch points you have with a client and see if there's a way of making that touch point a blow-away experience. You will be so glad you did, and your clients will love you for it.
And now for our feature segment.
So how do you run your fee-based financial planning business from a bomb shelter? Well, that's what we're going to talk about now, because it's important that you understand how to do this. I'm not saying that you actually want to go and run it from a bomb shelter, but in the wake of Hurricane Sandra, I came across a post by one of my mentors, Mike Michalowicz, where he explains how he was able to continue running his business while he was in a hurricane shelter in New York City. And I'll put a link to the post that I read in the show notes so you can take a look at what I'm talking about. So it got me thinking how important it is to do what you can to make your business hurricane-proof or bomb shelter-proof or whatever. But you need to be able to make your business portable, so to speak. Now, I hope nobody ever has to go through this, but it doesn't hurt to be proactive. I hope nobody ever has to go through a hurricane like they did in New York. I mean, that was just horrible. I've had, I've seen other people who have worked for us. One of the virtual assistants that works for us, he went through a massive, just horrifying flood in the Philippines. And he sent me pictures, and I was in tears. To see the fact that these people's homes were gone. You've seen it in New York City. We've seen the events take place, and the reality was, blackouts happen, snowstorms happen, service providers go down, fires happen, floods happen, computers crash, and really life happens. So if you're not looking at things but proactively and planning for, sometimes things just don't go as well as planned, you could hurt yourself. So I want to talk about that today because I think it's pretty easy to do. So here's how I've set up my business to protect it against what life sometimes throws my way. So the fact is that we rely on computers. But what I never want to do is rely on my computer. Okay. I do, we all have a relationship with our computers, and it's amazing how creepy some of the relationships really are. But we all have a relationship with our computer. We know when we're on another computer, it's not ours. I mean, it's weird. And, we set things up a certain ways, and so we like the way they work. So it's important to us. But we don't want to rely on that computer being the only way we can access our business. I want to always make sure that I don't require my own computer to do my job. I think about it this way. If I went on a trip and found an internet cafe, could I sit down at someone else's computer and run my company? And that's a big, tall order. Well, here's what I have in place today to almost be able to do this. Okay. Cloud-based CRM solutions. We've talked about them in the past. I use Salesforce.com, and I can't imagine not. Whether it's Salesforce or whether I've seen demos of Redtail and some other ones. There's some other ones that are out there, but I mean, I use Salesforce. I think it's the best out of all of them. We've done a lot of customization work anyways. I just think it's great. But my point is, it's cloud-based. So I don't have to be at my computer in order to access my database. Now, cloud-based opportunity management is also important. So again, through Salesforce, we have all of our opportunities that are tracked there. So whenever I come across an opportunity, when I'm developing a client's financial plan, or if I just come across an opportunity, come across a new lead, whatever it may be, I instantly add it to Salesforce, and I let the system manage it for me. Well, if my computer suddenly burnt in a fire or was stolen out of the back seat of my car, which, by the way, has happened, if that were ever to happen, I don't have to worry about things. The other thing you've got to think about is that, we don't always keep the computer that we've got. We upgrade it. Well, the upgrade process to me has always been a very stressful process. And so if I can ensure that I don't really need to upgrade very many things, just the odd app here and there, I don't want a lot of configuration anymore. I'm so tired of that. I just want it all up in the clouds. So, being able to manage the CRM and the opportunities and everything in a cloud-based system makes a lot of sense. Also, our client files are in the clouds. Now, it's important to make sure you've got good protection on that, and they are, secure and whatnot. But I think more and more we're beginning to understand the fact that a lot of this information is quite safe and secure. So what we do is we never give up our paper file. Okay, I always want to rely on that. I'm not at the point yet where I can just say, okay, image it once and then forget about the paper file. I want to make sure I have a paper copy of everything at my disposal when I need it. So what we do is we image everything and attach the images to the appropriate opportunities or contacts in the cloud. So every employee in our office has a scanner on their desk. So as soon as a document comes into the office, it gets scanned and filed. Then we only use the image from that point forward if we can. So basically, at the earliest convenience, at the earliest possible moment, we want to get it imaged, and then that's the document we're going to use. Now, sometimes you do need to keep the paper, especially when you're pushing a lot of paper when it comes to investment transfers and insurance policies and that sort of thing. So you do need to keep the paper because you are updating it quite a bit. But you do, at the very least, at the end of the underwriting or the end of the application process, image the entire file, the entire package that you've put together, so you've got a copy of it on your on the cloud. We also make sure that we image it, image everything in the, I think I mentioned this, but in the opportunities in Salesforce, so that it's not on a separate system. It is simply in the clouds attached to the client record. Now, the other thing we do is we make sure that our calendar is in the cloud. So Salesforce.com and Google Calendar tie together very, very nicely and quickly. And I can see anybody's calendar and they can see my calendar. So what I do is I basically set the people who have rights to see my calendar, and I can view other people's calendars. So I can view my wife's, I can view my kids, I can view, everything that's going on. So it just allows the usability and, booking meetings and blocking time off for myself. And, Kathy, my wife, will oftentimes just block off my calendar so that time gets blocked off on the office side of things, so that Jill doesn't book any appointments for me. So you see how it all works. It all works together. And since my assistant books everything for me on my calendar, she handles all of my scheduling. It just means that, on my iPhone or my iPad or my computer or whatever I happen to be using, I always know exactly what's going on and where I need to be. The other thing is emailing in the cloud. It drives me crazy, when you've got Gmail for Business or Google for Business or whatever you want to call it, how people are still so reliant on their local Outlook databases where they pull everything off the cloud or they pull it off the server and then everything just resides on their machine. And I think, well, what about the backup of all that information? Where is it residing? And oftentimes it's not residing in a place that's very secure. So I swear by Google when it comes to email. I put everything there, and I can archive everything. I don't delete very much at all. I pretty much archive everything, and I can always recall anything that I need. And it's amazing how many times you'll go back and 6 months, a year later, you'll go back and think, oh geez, I needed that document. Or I remember way back when there was this one particular piece that I remember, and I want to take a look at it, and it just allows you to recall it. The other thing that we use is mind mapping in the cloud. And I'm a real proponent of mind mapping. If you haven't seen some of the information I've put on mind mapping, it is just the most powerful program. I use it pretty much every day. I use it for my weekly calendar, my weekly schedule, setting up my week. My whole time management system is built around the ideal week, and I've created a mind map for that, and it's just awesome. I use MindMeister, and you'll see in the show notes there'll be a link to exactly what I use because it's all cloud based, and I use it for a lot. When I do any presentation these days, I don't use PowerPoint anymore. I use MindMeister, and so if you're doing presentations, we did a big presentation for a big group benefits plan. And I went in and I used MindMeister. I basically went through the whole thing, and I was able to give everybody a copy of the presentation via the private link that was linked to the mind map. And what I'm able to do is any of the documents that are supporting points or that we reviewed, I simply attach those documents to the nodes in the mind map, and then anybody can access those who has access to the mind map. So it's very, very powerful. I mean, studies on mind mapping show that retention rates increase 85 to 90%. So when you're presenting something to somebody through a mind map, they retain what you actually are presenting at an increased rate of 85 to 90%. That's phenomenal. And it's important in our business when, clients come in and there's a lot of complex stuff that we're sometimes talking about. Anything we can do to help increase the retention rate is important. The Wharton School of Business found a mind map with graphics. They were 67% more persuasive than a mind map without. So obviously pictures, they speak 1,000 words. Well, if you can incorporate graphics into your mind map, that takes it to another level. The U.S. Department of Labor found that information presented via mind map increased learning by 83% because it was presented visually. One of the most challenging things that we run up against is having people understand what it is that we're talking about. Well, putting it into a mind map is one of those tools that's going to allow you to increase people's learning and increase their retention of things. Use mind maps with your clients, and you too will have clients telling you how much better your meetings are as a result of the tool. I think every time I use the mind map, the first time I used the mind map with all my clients, every meeting they said, "Well, that was a pretty cool little piece of software that you've got. What's it called?" And so we would tell them, and we've had a lot of success with that. Just make sure that the solution you use is cloud-based, so you can access the information anywhere, anytime. Because there's a lot of great programs out there, but a lot of those programs are client-based. And the difference between cloud and client. Client's where it's on your machine. Cloud is when it's up in the clouds. And so make sure it is cloud-based because that allows you to do your cloud mind maps in a bomb shelter. Project management in the cloud. Again, I live and die by my project management solution because I've always got lots of stuff on the go. I make sure it's cloud-based, and we use Basecamp. I track all of my strategic projects in Basecamp. I'm able to include other people who are outside of my business but involved in the project. So if I'm working with a consultant or another outside person, I can include them in the project, only that project, and they don't have to necessarily be a user of Basecamp. So it's an easy way to bring them in, and it works like a charm. It's cloud-based, so I can access it anywhere, anytime. I have 2 virtual assistants that work for me from a different country. This allows me to keep them on track, communicate with them on projects, and keep it all organized. The website, obviously websites are all hosted in the cloud. And so we use a very robust, very reliable web host called Bluehost. And all of my blogs are done in the cloud. So I never have to worry about losing anything. WordPress is my current content management system and website platform. We designed our entire website on WordPress. So it is a pretty robust tool. And I think it's just, it's a safe, secure tool. They've got a lot of add-on, bolt-on programs that you can get for backing it up and that sort of thing. And it all happens on an automated basis. So it's pretty cool. Google Analytics. That simply allows me to track the success of my website. I can track all the success of the website, the number of traffic, the leads that are coming through. I track keywords. I do keyword research on using Google Analytics. So it's a powerful tool. And again, it's all cloud-based. So again, you can see how all of this so far that I've talked about is just, I could be sitting in a bomb shelter. I could be sitting in a cafe having a nice coffee, and I've quite often will wait for my kids while they're in competitive dance, and they've got a lot of dance, and so I'll oftentimes sit in a coffee shop. I hop onto to the wireless network, and I can get lots done. I use a great keyword research tool called HitTail, and it's for a different type of thing. It's for long tail keywords. And long tail keywords, if you don't know what a long tail keyword is, there was a great article written. I can't remember right now who it was written by. Anyways, it was written about the whole idea of the power is in the obscure, rare word searches. That's where the highest number of searches will actually find you. And so if you can key into some of these obscure keywords that will support what it is that you do, and then you can start optimizing your blog posts and marketing material for these obscure keywords, then that just simply gives you that much more ability to rank that much higher for those particular keywords than all the competitive ones. I mean, if you had to try and rank for financial planning, that's a pretty daunting task. But if you had another keyword that people looked at that got them through in the area of financial planning, and there was not a lot of demand for that, or not a lot of competition for that keyword, then that would simply allow you to rank higher when that keyword was looked for. And if it was a good match to your exact offer, then you rank even higher, and it just works like a charm. Social media dashboards. So being able to manage all of our social media. Now, not all of it's managed on this one program. We use Hootsuite. Not all of it is managed through Hootsuite, and there's HubSpot. There's Market Me Suite. I haven't used that one for a while. It was one that I did look at for a while, but I just found Hootsuite was a really, really robust one, and they had a free version that you can get that did pretty much everything you needed to, and then you can always upgrade to their pro version if you want some more sophisticated things. But really, the free one is more than adequate, more than enough than you mostly need. So I use it in order to manage all of my content postings. So all the scheduling of all my Twitter posts and my Facebook and all that sort of stuff. It works well. My LinkedIn postings and all that. It just handles everything for me. Client statements. All of the investment companies we use for our client accounts have online access to client account statements, and that's important. Making sure that you can always gain access to the latest version of a client statement, the latest market values and whatnot, and that your clients have access to that as well, because then it takes the reliance off of you for making sure your systems are safe and secure in your office, when really that costs a lot of money. And by putting it up onto a cloud-based system and letting the investment companies take care of it, A, they cover the costs, and B, they've probably got a lot deeper pockets than you do in order to make the protection that much greater. And then financial planning software. Now, this has been a bit of an issue for us, and I understand this is soon going to be resolved because the software program that we use is going to be going cloud-based. Right now, it's an Excel-based version, so it's highly complex algorithms that run it, but it is based on an Excel. And in talking with the developer of the Razor, then they're definitely taking it to the cloud, and then they're going to. That's just going to open up a whole new set of opportunities for them. So I'm really looking forward to them doing that. All of the financial planning data files that we use. Okay, so what we have is I can see the cloud-based core program running, but the data files we can either store in the cloud, or what we do is we store it in our Salesforce database. So we link the most recent data file in our Salesforce database, and that makes sure that everybody in the office has access to the latest version of a client's financial plan. So that works quite well also. I have as far as hardware goes, I've got a MacBook Air and an iMac. Now I do this so that I have a backup. Okay. When I'm in my main office where I do all my prep work and everything, I'm always on my iMac. But again, it's always linked into any cloud-based solutions. So whenever I go to do anything, I just simply go onto the solution and make all my changes and whatever. And then if I have to quickly just hop up and go, I grab my briefcase, which has my MacBook Air in it, and I take off, go to my appointments, and it works great because I can just call it up and everything's right there. I don't have to worry about synchronizing or anything like that. Same thing goes with my iPad, my iPhone. It just allows me to gain all of the benefits and functionality that I would get on my computer. Well, mostly I shouldn't say that, because there are some things that I just haven't been able to do with my iPad and iPhone, but they are great. All the mind mapping and all of the Basecamp and my projects and all that sort of stuff. It's all done. I can get it all online as well, and on my iPhone and iPad. And as far as I can tell, the future of computing will be cloud-based, and computers will no longer require hard drives or operating systems. And this is kind of cool, actually. All they're going to need is an internet browser so you can gain access to the internet and all of your cloud-based services. There was I think I just saw a computer. It was offered by Google, and there's no hard drive in it. It's basically just a very inexpensive machine that gains you access to the internet, and all the power of the internet is where the power of the computer goes. So as long as you've got access to the internet, you're in great shape. So now, what are the risks? Well, as far as I can tell, as long as I have an internet connection, I'm fine. So how do I protect against that? Well, the answer to my prayers is my iPhone. As long as I have a signal on my phone, I can always tether my computer to my phone to gain access to any of my programs. Just today, for example, I had to get some work done on my car, and I was there for maybe 45 minutes or so. So I walked in, handed my keys over, sat down, grabbed my iPhone, tethered my computer, got a good half hour's worth of work done. Guy came back, says, "Here are your keys. We're all set to go." I was up and out of the way, and I didn't skip a beat. So it works extremely well. So as long as I have my iPhone there, I'm able to tether through. And it's amazing on long car trips and that sort of thing. My wife will work with her photos, and she'll be uploading and downloading photos that she's wanting to work on while we're driving, in the car somewhere. She'll be working on her computer, and she's got access to everything that she needs, and it works like a charm. So, it just means you're productive. Now, I get what I just said is that it means that you've always got the information with you, and I get that you do need to turn yourself off every so often, but it just allows for a little bit more of a robust lifestyle because you're not tied to your desk. But what happens when I can't get access to the internet? That's one of the big challenges. And this is where I'm seeing some huge issues, because if I don't have access to the internet, I'm kind of screwed. First off, now I can always use my iPhone for email as I set my phone up using what's called IMAP as opposed to POP for my email. Now, again, if I just didn't have cell service, then that provides a problem. And if I have cell service, then chances are I've got internet service. So it's really when I'm out of touch with the cell that's where I've got some really issues if I don't have access to internet. But then again, if I'm doing that, I'm probably camping in some remote area, and I don't want access to the internet, and I don't want access to my cell phone anyway. So in any event, that's just an aside. But I mentioned the term IMAP and POP. Now, IMAP and POP. All right. So I believe POP stands for Post Office Protocol, and it's a protocol used for email. In essence, POP is just like the post office in that it delivers your email to you to your computer. So when it does that, the post office no longer has a copy of your email. So if you lose your computer, you lose your email. Now, IMAP, it stands for Internet Message Access Protocol. In essence, your email message is kept at the post office and never leaves, unless you delete it. What you do then is you log on to your email account from any of your devices and work on your email while it's at the post office. If you reply to an email, then all the messages, then the message is shown as being replied to on all of your devices, because all of your devices are looking at the same email, not a copy. So if you lose your computer, no problem. Your email is not necessarily downloaded to your computer. You've always got access to it. This is the safest way I have found in keeping track of all your email on multiple devices, because before I really got into using IMAP, I used POP, and I had all these systems where I'd have to synchronize this, that, and the other thing, and the synchronizing was just a pain. So then I said, look, I'm just going to move it all to an IMAP service, and that's what I use is Google, and it works like a charm. But if I can't gain access to my Gmail account because I don't have access to the internet, That's where I'm really, really pooched. And after reading Mike's blog post, however, he made me aware of Google Chrome. It's one of the software browsers or the internet browsers you can use. And apparently there's a plugin that would allow me to work on my email without the need to be connected to the internet. Okay, so I mean, he was in not a bomb shelter. He was in the hurricane shelter, and their power was going on and off, and they would lose connection, and so basically he was able to work on his emails, and as soon as he got back access to the internet again, boom, it sent all the emails that were there, and it grabbed all the next ones that were out there waiting for him. So I'm really interested in this Google Chrome plugin that I haven't used before, but apparently when you connect to the internet, any changes that have been made on your emails that you've written just simply get made on the main email account, and then everything stays in sync. So it's I'm definitely going to check that program out. I haven't had a chance yet, but it sounds like a pretty cool solution. I don't know if they have it for Safari, which is the browser that I'm using right now, but I did today just download Google Chrome, so I'll be taking a closer look at that. So now what happens if Google or Salesforce or one of the other solutions I use crash? Well, this is why I use reputable companies. Okay, Salesforce is the largest cloud-based CRM in the world. They have tremendous data redundancy. Google, well, I mean, do you think Google doesn't have data redundancy? So I'm not really too concerned about that. I know that if there's ever a blackout in any area of the world, or if there's any other area of concern, then they just simply reroute their services through their redundant servers, and everything just stays running. So I'm quite confident with that. And so it is definitely worth paying a little bit extra for some of these more robust services. So, it's pretty cool. I mean, all in all, I think the benefits outweigh the risks, of going cloud-based. I think that it is just sort of the way of the future, and it's definitely something that you need to embrace. If you're not embracing it, then it's really going to come back to haunt you, because there's just so many things that you take for granted that you don't have to worry about when you go cloud-based, especially when you go to another, if you don't have your computer with you, you're pooched. So, it is pretty impressive to be able to go to anybody's computer and get pretty much anything I need to get done. So we called all of our clients from our cell phones and turned our meetings from face-to-face into online meetings. So what I mean by that is that, I've had a couple of days when I've shown up at the office and the power was out. Okay. So basically, I can remember this very clearly. We showed up at the office. I sat down at my desk and power went out. So I grabbed my cell phone, my assistant grabbed her cell phone, and we basically contacted all of our clients and said, don't bother coming in. Apparently the power is going to be out for a while, but we're going to go to different locations, and we're going to continue in about an hour, and we'll be back up in line. So what we did was all the staff picked up their computers and they went home. Our phone system, it's a virtual system, so we simply forwarded our lines to our cell phones. Voicemail always worked. We never missed a beat. My meetings carried on as usual. Clients were happy. I was happy. It all worked. All because I thought about it in advance and asked the question, what would happen if I lost my computer? How long would it take me out for? Well, my staff loves it. They're always able to access their information. I love it because I'm much more bulletproof now than I ever have been. It's just simply a great feeling to know that you can always do what you need to from wherever you need to be. So knowing this, it's important to look at your business this way. You'll find that things will just work more efficiently. You'll find that there is a bit of a learning curve. I'm not going to deny that. I'm not going to say that there isn't. But with certain things, I'm using, there's a program called Dropbox. Again, there's a link to that on our resource tab. Dropbox is fantastic because it actually takes, if you do want to have local files on your machine, it'll just simply take a copy of those local files and put them up in the cloud. Google now has Google Drive, and they have a little interface that you can install on your computer. So any file you put in that particular folder on your computer instantly synchronizes with the cloud. So there's always a copy up there. So if you do lose your computer, you can get that back. So there's some really great tools out there. So definitely check out the resources tab on the website, because I've listed all the tools that I currently use on there, and they'll give you direct links to using them. And it's all about getting out there and helping you find ways of building a better business.
You've been listening to Scott E. Plaskett, a certified financial planner and industry veteran in the world of fee-based financial planning. Want free resources to help you build a better fee-based financial planning firm? Visit ilovefinancialplanning.com right now to register for Scott's Inner Circle email list, where you'll get front-of-the-line updates on the latest resources that are driving profits to Scott's fee-based financial planning practice. All of the resources are pulled directly from the highly acclaimed fee-based financial Financial Planning Mastery Academy. Go now to ilovefinancialplanning.com. Build a better business and make more money with your fee-based financial planning practice today.